That is one spectacular view, but this is even better. This is a 2014 BMW M235i, and it's a BMW from a time when BMW had a predictable recipe for sport performance cars. So as far as looks go, the F22 M235i is one of the best looking BMWs that has ever been produced, because if you're looking at the newer BMWs and what is happening with designs, they tend to be sort of controversial, and not everybody is in agreement with what BMW is doing. So it has a well-proportioned kidney grills, nice looking LED lights, and coming to the side you have these nice Michelin Pilot Sport Performance tires, and it has Sparco rims. The actual cost of the entire tire and rim setup was actually around 350,000 shillings, just to add on to the other modes that we've already mentioned. So the overall design is quite simple, and there are sharper lines going all round. It's not exactly screaming, but it's something that you'll want to be seen in. It's a nice looking car, and it's something that you definitely want to drive around. So the question you'll want to know is, how does it drive? And just to get started, it's actually an exciting car to drive. I'm personally a BMW fan, a BMW enthusiast, and it's something that I've actually interacted with for some time. And if I'm to be honest, this is one of the best cars that I have ever driven. The engine you're using here is called the N55, and as you might already understand, the N55 is offered with about 3 different options. So the normal N55 is called the N55 B30 M0, and this is the one that is co-shared with other BMWs like the X3s, the X5, and the E71 BMW X6. And then there is the N55 B30 O0, which is the engine that is used in this particular vehicle, and the F20 M135i. So while stock, it's supposed to make about 322 horsepower and about 407 Newton meters of torque. But now that it has been tuned by the good guys at UNGARAGED, it is making 400 horsepower and it has 600 Newton meters of torque. If you don't understand what that means, it means that every time you put your foot down, the car tries to fly, just wants to go. And then that clever engine has been mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission gearbox, which is called the ZF8HP. But that gearbox has also been updated. The transmission control unit software is at stage 2, so it has a proper sync with the engine. So every time you put your foot down, it always feels like there is proper coordination between the engine and the gearbox. So I think as far as the tuning went, they actually did a fantastic job, and the car is wonderful to drive. And just to say something else on the engine, maybe you might be wondering the difference between this one and the F87 BMW M2. The early versions of the F87 BMW M2 actually used another version of the N55, which was called the N55 B30T0, and that was the higher performance version of this particular engine. So I think this is one of my favorite engines, and if I was to get something similar, I would actually be going for something like that one. So the steering wheel in this particular vehicle is much like what you'll see in most BMWs, because I have interacted with BMWs for some time, and the steering wheels that you tend to be much stiffer than what you'd get in other vehicles. So like if you were to compare it with what you'd get in maybe an Audi, they are completely from 2 different worlds. The steering wheel in this vehicle tends to be stiffer, and that is something that I've noticed in other BMWs as well. And it's not that it's something bad, because it gives you some sort of confidence. Every time you attack bends, you go with some kind of confidence and you feel like you're giving the vehicle a proper feedback. And then other than that, there is the part where this vehicle is rear wheel driven. I know that may be chaos for some other people, but I think that is a proper driver's car. If you were to ask me, that is something that a proper driver would want in their vehicles. So the fact that it is rear wheel driven means that you have to stay awake for most of the time, because rear wheel driven cars are not exactly forgiving. They are aggressive, and especially when you're driving the vehicle on a Sport Plus mode, and it tends to rotate the tires every time you're trying to put your foot down. So there is a sort of chaos that comes from the rear. It always pushes you to be better, I think, and it's something that I always find to be more engaging as compared to other vehicles that are maybe all-wheel driven or front-wheel driven. So if I was to choose between this one and the other setups, I would actually go for a rear-wheel driven, which is exactly what this vehicle offers. So as much as the BMW M235i is a track-focused car, at the end of the day, it's still a BMW, and if it's a BMW, it has to be as comfortable as it can possibly get. And in that regard, the quality of materials used in the car is not bad at all. Alcantara seats are very standard. They have some blue stitching effect to them just to add some sense of energy, and they are very comfortable. The sitting position are sort of low, which feels sporty as well. You need that kind of thing when you're going out to the track. And going to the door panels, you have some blue stitching effect again from the same materials. The door handles have aluminium trimming to them, and the general cabin actually feels high grade. There is nothing that feels cheap. Plastics have been used, but they're not rough, and they don't feel cheap at the end of it all. So as far as the interior goes, it's a good place to be in, and it's something that you want to spend a lot of time in. The infotainment system we have here is actually what is called the iDrive infotainment system. As you might understand, these German manufacturers tend to give these infotainment systems a name. So if maybe you go to another car, it will be referred to by another name. But when it comes to BMWs, it's always referred to as the iDrive infotainment system. So for me, the iDrive is one of the best in the market. I think it is the best system I have actually ever used in a vehicle, because it is very detailed, and it actually has information from the smallest bit you might want to do, or the smallest function you might want the car to do, all the way to the most complicated task you might have you might want to have the car perform for you. So maybe if we look at the system we have here, there is a tab maybe for the multimedia. Pretty much handles the entertainment system. There is the radio, pretty much obvious, where you go to listen to your morning shows. Telephone can actually handle your calls, and Bluetooth connectivity to the vehicle. And then maybe there is a trip computer, which gives detailed information about your trip. So if you look at it, you can actually see information like the live consumption, so that every time you put your foot down, depending on the amount of force you're using, it will always change to show you how much you're consuming in real time. Then there is one that actually shows the range. So like I think for now we can read we have 41 kilometers before we put our foot down. That might change very fast. And maybe going to the last one, the setting bit of it. So maybe you have things like the instrument cluster display. You can try and open it. It shows a number of features, the graphics, how you want them to be displayed. There is the time and date, very obvious. You can set your time and date. There is the language, and then the light, how you want the light to operate, so that we have things like ambient lighting. Over here we have a welcome light, daytime driving lights. If you want them to come on, you can actually do all that kind of thing from here. So I think like I've said earlier on, this is the best system that I've actually ever experienced in a car, and it's something that I would recommend if you're looking to buy a car basically based on the infotainment system, because it actually takes over and determines your interaction with the vehicle. This is the best system that there is. So I know most of you guys watching the video are going to be curious, and you might want to know if the back seats are actually functional, and I want to assure you that they're actually functional, although they would actually be more comfortable for smaller adults and kids for longer distances. But if you are a taller person, they might not be that comfortable for longer driving or longer distances. But on that hand, they actually have ISOFIX child seat anchoring points. So if you're traveling with babies, you can actually throw them at the back, take them to a track, and sort of shock them. that you might get arrested for that, but it's actually something that I had to note. As far as it's a sport car, there is that sort of practicality also going on around the cabin. So if you have babies and you want to take them to the track, that is something you might actually be able to do with the M235i. So I know someone is watching the video and maybe wondering, why should I buy a car like that one? And the first and most important answer would be in regards to performance. So what we have here is a special vehicle. The N55 engine in particular is a proper engine that has been around for some time. And if you're looking for something that has some kind of a tuning potential, the gearbox also gives room for that, then this is a proper vehicle that you're going to be looking at. And as far as performance goes for a car like this one, it's a car you can go to work with on a Friday and take it to a track on a Saturday or during the weekends. It's also decently practical. The boot has enough room to carry your bags as you plan to go out to a track and give people proper beatings. And if you look at the rivals as well, you're looking at cars like the Audi S3, you're looking at cars like the VW Golf R and some other proper performance cars. So you want something that can fit in the bill and something that is going to be able to challenge guys out there. So as far as that goes, I think it's a proper car that smells performance from the first time you see it, and it's a car that is going to give you a proper looks everywhere you go. People are going to snap their necks, and I think that is it. So if you want something like this one for maybe 2015, you'll be looking at about 4 million shillings. But this one being a 2014 and this 22 tuning, it's on sale for 3.7 million shillings. So until the next one, stay safe out there.